Why United Nations diplomats can't leave the New York area. Every year, the United Nations hosts events in New York City, inviting diplomats from around the world.
It's going to get even busier than it is right now when most of those world leaders finally make it to the east side.
Due to an agreement between the UN and the U.S. government, visas cannot be refused to these diplomats, whether they are German attachés or the North Korean leader. The question arises, how would the United States handle it if some of these diplomats turned out to be spies? This issue surfaced during the Cold War. Hundreds of Russian diplomats entered the U.S. for United Nations-related work, and upon analysis, over half were determined to be spies by occupation. During these times, most of the U.S. was off-limits. More precisely, strategically sensitive areas, such as land near military bases, were off-limits to Soviet tourists. However, these diplomatic spies spread out across the country, with diplomatic immunity preventing their arrest. The United States had to act. In the 1980s, a lawmaker proposed a 25-mile zone centered at Columbus Circle in New York. The law stipulated that UN diplomats could not leave the area without permission. It passed, and this implementation caused unusual problems, with one Iranian diplomat reporting that his apartment's bed was inside the green zone, but his toilet was outside the radius. 40 years later, the requirement zone is still in effect. Recently, Poland has imposed a similar restriction on Russian diplomats.